Ladies and gentlemen, happy Friday. What is up? Welcome to 8-Bits, our third episode, version 0.3. Happy to be here for another show. I'm djWHEAT, joined as always by itmeJP. And we have a special guest today, Brad Shoemaker, joining us.
Hey,
from Giant Bomb. How's it going, Brad? Thank you.
Doing well. Yeah.
For joining us this week.
As breakfast chat here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
yeah.
we're really kind of enjoying this sort of midday time slot because
it's nice, man.
Yeah, the Europeans they get in on the video game action too. Believe it or not, Europeans play video games.
Yeah,
it happens.
They've got electricity over there. They've got televisions. You know, they are ready to go.
Yeah.
This is all news to me. I did not know
it's
any
true.
of this actually
JP,
was true.
it is true. So thank you to all those Euros who tune in during the day as well. So guys, got plenty to talk about. Normally, E3 is actually like the killer of video game news for a few weeks. I mean, Brad, you're probably so familiar with this.
Oh, totally, yeah. This was I counted. This was my 17th consecutive E3, so
Holy shit!
I've got some experience with the news cycle around it. But yeah, I was talking to JP like 2-3 days ago, and he was just like, "Yeah, there's nothing going on this week. I don't know what we're going to talk about." And then some stuff happened. I understand some things went down.
There's always something in video games.
There always is something. You can always count on something to happen 2 or 3 days after you say there's nothing in video games right now.
Exactly.
No matter what.
Well, as we or before we jump into our 8-Bits of the week, as always, we discuss what we've been playing. And JP, since you can't seem to not talk about it, and we might as well just get it out right now, man. Like, let's do it. Just blah.
He may still be playing it as we speak.
No,
I'm sure he is.
I closed it. I was like, guys, I could go kill those mobs, but I guess I'll get ready for the show. So yeah, I've been playing. As of waking up at 6:30 this morning a.m., I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV. It's their Phase 3 beta weekend, and the way that they're rolling this out is like the biggest cock tease, but it's so smart business-wise because like you can only play for, I think it's a 48-hour period. It opens Friday mornings at 5 and then closes Sunday mornings at 5.
And when did you wake up this morning, JP?
6:30.
Oh,
I woke up at 5 and I was like, it's a fucking beta, and I went back to sleep.
I bet it was more like this. The servers will probably be hard to get into. I'll just give it an hour and a half.
Shit.
I'm gonna lose that character eventually anyway.
Yeah. So I'm just last week I was trying out after the show last week actually is where I really got into it and got hooked. I got up to like 15 on a Conjurer, which is like the class before becoming a black mage or some shit. It's like hitting every note that I want an MMO to hit. That it's not WoW. I think that's the biggest part is that it's not World of Warcraft, and that's why I'm enjoying it because it's almost as good, if not better, than because I haven't really seen any end game. But this week's a little bit different for the beta because it's the first week that they're allowing the 1.0, the initial Final Fantasy XIV. Those characters can now carry over. So there's level 50s right now in the game on these legacy servers. And the way that they're rolling it out is they're going to have legacy servers where you can use your old characters or new servers where everyone on the server is starting new. So there's not going to be any mixing of that unless you start a new character without having any old ones on those legacy servers. So that's cool. I understand that they're knocking out 1 digit of your money if you're bringing over an old character. So
what?
If you have 10 million gold, you now have 1 million gold, which is like a really big fuck you to those old characters.
Wow.
Haven't those people suffered enough?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But
I mean, did they have a problem with like inflation? Because MMO economics is something that fascinates me. And
Final Fantasy 11 was. I had the most fun with that game economically compared to any other like auction house game or anything like that because you're able to, and this is something that a lot of I guess non-Western MMOs do, is that you're able to sell stuff on your characters. So like you could just go AFK, stay logged in the game for 10 hours, and people can come over to your character,
right?
Look at like your personal shop, blah blah blah, and you can buy from that. There's also an auction house, from what I can gather. I haven't really gotten into all of the systems because it's a brand new MMO, so there's like 1 billion different systems that you have to learn and try to figure out. But I'm having fun with it so far. I started an archer this morning just to try out some other classes. I'll probably make a melee character, but it seems cool, man. I think the first dungeon starts at 15. I think you can fight Ifrit now in the game. He's like level 20 or something like that.
I gave JP a mission, by the way. I told him the next time that he levels up, I want him to die to find out if you level down, because it was the reason I quit Final Fantasy 11.
Is that still a thing? Is that something
it's
like
still
I thought
in Final Fantasy 11?
I thought, well, yeah. I mean, that game's kind of older. You know, I felt like WoW sort of, you know, flattened the skill curve on MMOs to a large extent, right?
I think if there's been any other MMOs recently that leveled down. I don't think there has been.
Like that's some real like savage EverQuest era thinking, you know?
Yeah, that's some serious fuck you right there, game design. Like, oh man, it took you 4 hours to get that piece. A turtle took it away.
I don't know. I played the shit out of Final Fantasy 11, man. That was always the most infuriating when you were soloing and you did level down, especially like if you were 29 getting ready to hit level 30, and then if you de-leveled, you lost like your advanced job, so you were stuck leveling that back up, and so then you could play like your new character at level 1 or your new job. One thing, Marcus, that I think this might be a deterrent is that
here it comes.
So in the game, like your single character can be every class in the game. Like your one character can switch classes. Once you hit level 10, you can switch to whatever class you want. But the quests don't reset. So once you do a quest, it's done. You can't redo that quest. So if you have to re-level up, you have to do these things. You have to grind. You either have to grind. There's other stuff. There's like daily quests that'll reset, I think, every 10 hours that you can do at certain level sets. There are, I think they're called leave. They're basically public quests that you can go and do. And then there's like this hunting log, which basically is kind of your World of Warcraft thing where it's like, go kill 6 of these. That's all condensed into this one giant hunting log. So it's like, go kill 6 of these mobs, and you'll get a little bit more extra XP.
Yeah, that sounds like time I don't have.
I think it's turning into like a giant grind fest once you do all the initial quests. Yeah. So we'll see. That's one thing I'm very interested to see what's going to happen, because the point of the game is like to get to those advanced jobs. And the way that it's structured is it takes level 30 of one job, level 15 of another job, and then you start out again at level 1 with that advanced job. So I think that's my simple understanding of the systems.
Tactics-esque a little bit. So
yeah. So I have one question about this game.
Fake Quest. Yeah,
so you sent me the YouTube video of Magitech armor from Final Fantasy VI as a mount in this game, which was the first time that I had any interest whatsoever in this. Yeah. So if I get into this beta, how long is it going to be before I start getting those like nostalgic warm fuzzies? Like, what's the first thing you see?
The first thing you see is the first thing that I hear is the level up music. That is the exact.
Is it just like the fanfare?
Yeah,
the battle fanfare. Oh man, no, I don't need to hear this. The battle music
is the straight up battle music from like Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy V. You see Moogles right away. One of them's actually like this alcoholic Moogle, at least in the area that I started in. And only you can see him or some shit. There's like the intro's it's like a 10-minute intro of like just reading dialogue, and it seems very story focused. A lot of the main quest or whatever. It's like hitting all those major fanfare moments, at least for me.
This almost sounds kind of insidious, you know? It's like they have to know exactly what they're doing. Because we just, you know, it's just like Smash Brothers or whatever. Like, we grew up with this stuff. Like, it fires certain synapses in your head every time you see it. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like there might be some, like, sinister psychological quality to this, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm enjoying it so far.
It sounds kind of cool.
And from what I've heard, Phase 4, which I don't know when that's launching. The game's out in August, like at the end of August 27th, but the Phase 4 characters are going to be like your real characters. Unless for whatever reason there's a giant glitch and like someone can hit level 50 for that weekend. They're not going to wipe those characters. So right now, Phase 3, I'm just like testing everything, trying to figure it all out, and trying to figure out like, I'm the type of guy where I'll figure out like what is best to level first. Then what do I level second? Why is that faster? Like, I'll go into all the fucking small, minute details just to make sure it's the fastest and most efficient way. But that's how I have fun with those games. So I'm kind of a nerd like that. But
you are, but that's why we love you, JP.
That's cool.
Anything else that, I mean, really, it's all about grinding it out?
Yeah, it seems fun. Some of the other games I've been playing, I tried Company Heroes 2 because apparently that's in like open beta right now.
Yeah, I think it's out next week, right?
It's out next week. Yeah, it comes out Tuesday. I didn't play a multiplayer game only because those last like hours.
Yeah.
In my Company Heroes 1 experience, but I played the like story demo mission that comes with it, and it was company heroes. Like it was
Pretty much, yeah.
It's such a weird RTS to play, especially coming from like such a strong StarCraft background, where two fucking little guys can sit behind a rock and like you can throw everything at them and they won't die until you like throw a grenade in there or get behind them or something like that. It seems fun. That game the matches just take for fucking ever. That's like the only thing that I really can't enjoy about that game. So I don't know. I might pick it up next week or later on in the season if there's ever a big lull of no games to play.
Did you ever play those games, Brad?
I dabbled with the first one. I got through like the first kind of big segment of the campaign. I guess I didn't really get too deep into the multiplayer, but
yeah,
I played 2 a few months ago. I think it was at Seattle PAX last year, and
right.
It was a mission in the snow. The whole game's like set on the Eastern Front, right,
Yeah.
in and around Russia, and
yeah,
it was crazy the number of things you were having to keep up with. Like you had to worry about the body temperature of your guys when they were out in the snow. You know, like they
Yeah.
could freeze, like start freezing to death and taking damage if you didn't have them close to a heat source. Like you can fall through ice, and you have to kind of like eyeball the ice and see if it's too cracked to like drive your tanks across and stuff. Like it seemed like a whole lot to keep up with.
The first mission in the first game in the story was actually there was like an artillery strike coming down. This is how I remember it, at least. And you had to like move your guys in and out of like different searchlights and stuff like that. So it was an interesting dynamic to see that. And plus back then the game looked amazing. Like I can't really think of any other graphical improvement like that I had seen. I guess it came out in like 2008, 2009 or something.
It's always been a really sharp-looking game. I mean, the fact, like, from the sky, it looks great, and then you can zoom in and almost get this cinematic experience. And although you guys are talking about the single-player, and they've changed it a lot in Company Heroes 2. One thing I would say about the multiplayer, because JP's right, like, matches, you go and you just queue up, and match is going to take an hour. But you know what? I had so much fun playing this game with a buddy where we just like would load the smallest map.
Yeah.
And then we would just like, go at it with one another because there is that level of randomness to it. Like there is as JP said, if you take cover behind a fence, then, your guys are going to be missed a lot. Like they will not get hit unless you're using a mortar shell. And so there's a lot of like rock, paper, scissors going on and positioning. And then each positioning takes time, so it's really a thinking man's RTS, but not anywhere near a traditional RTS by any means. So it's
a different like set of thinking skills.
Yeah.
It's like if I go inside that building, then with a machine gun, then I can control this arc, and it's like you have to know the map in that sense because there might be a certain path that he can get behind you, and then you need to set up like fortifications there. So. I don't know. That game, it takes too long. Like StarCraft, it's like, I could just go build some Marines and like try to kill someone. If it doesn't work, I can leave in 5 minutes, right? And that's like, well, I could build some Marines and then wait 30 minutes to see if they're gonna like be able to get anywhere on the map without dying. So, that comes out next week. Not that much buzz around that game. Maybe it's just like this post E3 news that everyone's talking about right now, but. Kind of a weird release time.
I feel like they kind of hit a bump in the road when THQ fell apart, because they were.
That's true. Yeah.
THQ was handling the promotional efforts for that game, and then all of a sudden there wasn't a THQ anymore.
Who's publishing that now?
Sega actually bought.
That's right.
Sega bought Relic and got not all their IP, but this obviously came along with them. So I don't know what they've really been doing on the marketing front for it, but they did have that lull in the middle where nothing was going on with them. So.
Well. I know a lot of YouTubers aren't going to be covering that because the whole Sega copyright claim bullshit on YouTube that's been going on.
Are they in that business now?
Yeah, they've pissed off a lot of big. I know Total Biscuit has like been on a Sega strike for the past couple of months. He just won't cover anything.
Is this similar to the stuff Nintendo did a few weeks ago?
Yeah,
same kind of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. So. Sucks for that game, but I'm sure the major outlets will obviously be covering it. And then the last game, I'm still continuing my playthrough of Demon Souls, and I've gotten to that point where it really tests you on if you really enjoy this game or if you're just playing it to like say that you're playing Demon Souls because
just bragging rights.
God, it's the final boss of World 1, and like to get to them, it takes like 10 minutes, and it's very tedious. You can't rush through it. Then you get to the boss, and it's like 5 seconds if you get owned in like 5 seconds, and I don't know what to do.
And the whole 10 minutes you're thinking about, you're just like visualizing a fight where you just fucking kick this monster's ass, and you're like, yeah, this time I'll roll to the left, and then I'll use a potion here, and then he just like does something totally different, and
oh god damn it,
yeah,
god damn that game. But I enjoy it still. It's the type of game where I can only play in like 4 or 5 hour spurts, because eventually I'm going to get really, really fucking pissed off, and I'm streaming it, so like I can't get too pissed off, or else it just becomes like a stream where it's a guy's raging at a video game, and I don't want that to be the main focus of the game.
I don't know. That sort of works out for some people now and again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like,
all right.
I don't know.
All right. Well, my list will be pretty quick. I'm finishing up The Last of Us. Made a lot of progress through there. I've only played the game at night, so this is like there's a classification of games that I'll only play at night because I like the atmosphere and the mood. These would include things like Resident Evil and you know, like The Last of Us, even for whatever reason Uncharted and things like that. But I absolutely loving it, living up to the hype. JP and I are going to do a separate video kind of talking about The Last of Us.
Probably like a spoiler video or something.
Yeah, totally. So you guys won't get surprised by that. And then this has been definitely the week of my kid, like the week of mini-wheat, because Animal Crossing New Leaf came out. So, you know, we've gone to Best Buy and we've collected items that are exclusive to there. And we, you know, I haven't played Animal Crossing in years, but I'm sort of reliving that whole experience of having it played the first time, which is kind of cool to see him go through it. But I got to tell you, I learned quickly that as a dad, I just got to remember that, like, I would be the same way. But I walked into his world, and I'm like, oh, what's this thing that's right outside his house? And I dug it up, and it was a shovel. And immediately I knew exactly what he was doing. And I'm like, oh, shit, I just dug up his shovel. He's trying to make a golden shovel. So I gave him back his DS. I'm like, hey, buddy, sorry about that. He's like, well, I was trying to get now it's going to take me 2 days. Anyway, so been reliving the Animal Crossing world, which is pretty awesome. And then because I came back with some of those exclusive E3 Skylander figures, we've been playing some Skylanders Giants. And I'll tell you what, like, for a game that's like, it's about teamwork, you know, when you've got two guys and sort of got to be working together, collaborating. This game truly tests my patience with my son. Like, it's weird because the map only scrolls out. You know, like when you play co-op games, guys on the same screen, like a lot of times they use a strategy where they pull the camera out to give, you know, players as much freedom as possible. In Skylanders, they like tether you together. So when you get far away, like this invisible tether like starts to and you see this like golden beam, and I'm just like, no, mini-wheat, come towards me. I'm like, I have to get this. And also another thing I learned, and I'm just not sure, right? Like, have we been conditioned as gamers playing games like Super Mario Brothers and Sonic to just pick shit up? Because he doesn't pick shit up. He doesn't care. He's like, whatever, some jewels, what? Pfft, fuck the jewels, man. I'm like, it's not a big deal. I don't like, for me, I'm always like, if I see something on the ground, like, I gotta pick it up.
Man. You're probably gonna need that later.
Exactly. I don't know.
Maybe it's a generation raised on Minecraft. You know, it's like I don't need that now. There's always more where that came from.
I don't know.
That might be it.
Yeah. You haven't been there. You haven't seen the shit we've seen.
Yeah. So one of these days he'll figure that out, but it's pretty hilarious.
All right. I'm gonna go back to Animal Crossing real quick.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm on the fence. I want to buy a 3DS. I don't know if I'm going to. Part of the reason that I want to is because everyone's talking about Animal Crossing. Is this a game where the completionist inside of me is going to hate myself because I'll be logging in at a certain time of day to get a special item?
But you will love every moment of it.
God, I don't want to get that game then.
See, but you will love every moment.
Let me ask this: have you ever played an Animal Crossing?
No, I've never played it.
Then you have to get it.
See, Brad said the same thing. I said the same thing. I was like, dude, you just kind of.
Damn it.
Like if you played every Animal Crossing, then this one, they made some improvements, but it is largely just, another Animal Crossing. But if you've never played one of these games before, like, this is not missable.
See, I'm the type of guy where
check it out.
I'll try to learn the game, and then it's like, if you have to log in at this certain time to get some item and I miss it, I just won't play the game. I'll stop right there.
There's always like 3 other things on the horizon, though,
Listen, Brad will agree with me on this. All right, JP, the moment you create your first beautiful dress and sell it, you'll be hooked for life.
Oh, God.
I wish I could talk a little more in depth about that game, but I haven't seen my 3DS since I got it because my girlfriend has just monopolized it. We got it a little bit early, for review, and yeah, she has pretty much had the 3DS with her for the last 3 weeks. So
maybe it'll happen, JP. Don't worry, it'll happen.
Maybe I'll.
Brad.
Anyways, Brad, what are you up to?
What have you been playing?
So we got back from E3 a week ago today. I haven't gotten into a whole lot of stuff. I mean, I'm still playing way too much Dota, but a little bit less than I haven't done like an 8-hour, like a full 8-hour day since we got back. I've kind of been doing a game here and there. And I feel like I finally got to the point where I can play new characters and like be effective on that first try with those characters. You know what I mean? Like I've got the fundamentals down enough that it's like all right, I don't have to play the same dozen guys anymore. I can start branching out a little bit. So that's cool. And I keep trying to play State of Decay on XBLA. Have you guys played that?
No,
I want to, but I'm trying so hard to wait till it comes to PC.
Yeah, you totally should, I think, because it seems like it could be an amazing game, but it is such a mess on that platform that I don't think
what's messy about it?
It's performance-wise, it is embarrassing. Like
really?
you drive around the open world, and it has such a hard time like loading the world in that it'll hitch for like a full second when you move into new areas, and just like frame rate dropping left and right. And they've also they're about to rush out their second patch. They put one patch out like a week after it came out. It's just like it's full of bugs because I don't know if you guys know much about it, but you've got like a home base of survivors that you're managing, and you can switch between them. But you need resources. There's like upkeep on your fortress or your fort or whatever. And people can die, and death is permanent. So if you have a guy you've leveled up and he's dead, you're just you're out of luck.
That's cool.
The simulation runs even when the game is off. Like resources are still expended, and things are happening even when you're not in the game.
No one can die, right? No one can die while you're offline.
So that was one of the things they changed. Like the initial version, people could die while the game was turned off.
That's pretty cool, though.
So that first patch already softened a lot of that stuff, but there were some bugs with like if zombies were too close to your thing, like you were losing resources faster than you were supposed to, and so between all those balance issues and bugs and the performance stuff, I think unless PC is like 6-8 months off, I think it's probably better to wait. But it seems like once they get it fixed up and it runs better, it's going to be fantastic.
Well, that style of game is like even you saw it a little bit at E3. Like that style of game, the whole survival, the Division looks great. Like I mean, I enjoy it when they can give a good experience. So I'm glad that I've heard this from you. And just will probably wait for the PC as well.
Yeah. I'm a little bit wary to jump into something like that right after playing The Last of Us, because I'll feel like I'll just make direct comparisons and like, if they would have just made a Last of Us that was permanently online and like not story driven, it'd be so awesome. But I just want to play it because it's selling so fast. I want to see why everyone is buying this game on.
It's crazy. I don't think anybody expected that. Even like the developers themselves, if you look at their blog, like it just
was it like 500,000 or
yeah,
something?
they passed 500,000. It's like I think it's like the second fastest selling game ever on XBLA or something after Minecraft.
I mean, it is a lot to do with the buzz.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Plus, I mean, there is that zeitgeist, like you said, around that kind of game. DayZ was huge, and it seems like a lot of other commercial games now, like Epic's Fortnite, sounds like it's going to have some elements like that, and a lot of other games.
Well, it's such it's such a cool thing to like play a game like that. That it's something that I think you couldn't really do until this generation or this age of video games. You can't do something like that back in at least that type of fully realized game. There was obviously elements of that in some of the older games, but
yeah.
It's definitely something that you can only really see in this gen or next gen. So, I don't know.
Anything else, Brad?
That's pretty much it now. I was all set to pick up The Last of Us coming home from E3 last week, and then I heard how horribly depressing it is.
Oh, man.
Just decided I needed a little bit lighter game for last weekend, so
yeah,
haven't gotten into that one yet.
All right. Well, you're in for a ride when you do. So
don't play that game in one sitting like I did, Brad. You'll have a bad night.
You're not the first person to tell me that. Several people have said like 90 minutes max for a session with that game.
Don't do what I did, Brad. I played for 14 or 17 hours straight.
Like people have told me like I had to go hug my kids after I finished that game, I just got in my car and drove around for a while.
I'm pretty sure that my wife has some sort of an app on her phone that she just hits a button every single time I yell like a little girl, just to keep track of it, because it happens a lot. It happens way more than I had expected it to. So, all right, let's jump into our 8-bits for the week. First and foremost, and we thought it was appropriate considering that Brad was coming on the show, and Dota 2 is a game that he is very interested in. So yesterday, it was sort of reported that, hey guys, guess what? Dota 2 is it's out. Like, there's been this stealth release, and this was reported by Gosu Gamers. Well, it was then discovered by them, and after reaching out to Valve, that this is sort of another step in the grand scheme of releases. So the update is that you can download the game and you can go through the tutorials, but you can only spectate the game, which is really interesting because that, of course, opens it up to anyone who just maybe wants to learn about it. And, of course, with the upcoming the International 3, it gives people an alternate way to watch it. But you still have to officially have a beta key or purchase the starter pack in order to play the game. So, obviously, Dota 2 will definitely be open to all when the game is officially launched. And we know that the news has come out from Valve that the game will be launched even before TI3, I think. And so what I wanted to talk about, since, of course, this isn't necessarily a stealth release, is Brad, as a fan of this game and sort of in this world where game releases and the way that they are released have sort of, the lines have been blurred, right? There's no right way to release a game anymore. There's a lot of experimental ways. What do you think about Valve's approach with Dota 2?
I mean, they've definitely built buzz pretty steadily over the last, how long's it been since that beta opened? I mean, it was 2011? It's like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
They definitely really steadily built buzz up on this thing. But you're right, I don't even know what a game launch or release is at this point, because they've been taking money for this thing since last year sometime, right? That's kind of, for us, for our site, that's kind of been the litmus test of when is this game officially out, is when are they taking money for it, if you can put money into this, even if it's a free-to-play game, if there are purchasable items, if they will take your cash, then it's kind of out, But it's been weird because people still can't get into it without that invite. So,
which doesn't seem to be very difficult for anyone to come across.
Yeah, sure.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm sure between all of us, we have at least 30 here on the show. So they give them out pretty easily, though.
Sure.
Well, and, when it was first believed that this was going to be, or that this was a release of Dota 2, in the back of my head, I'm like, gosh, it just seems to me like the International 3, with all the hype and buzz that it builds in the Dota community and sort of in general gaming, that would still be the perfect time. Just be like, by the way, guys, we just saw an amazing final. Someone won $2.2 million, blah, blah. And guess you could go play Dota 2 now. It's done. It's official. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
It does seem like kind of strange timing if this is exactly what happened yesterday, because, the tutorial is still in kind of an incomplete state. There's a lot of the other sort of teaching features, like the mentoring and stuff, that's not in there yet. So I'm kind of surprised they would kind of stealthily roll this out without some of those kind of new player-friendly features in.
Right.
What is the mentoring system? What is that?
It's kind of one of those things that they talked vaguely about a long time ago and then didn't get back to, but the idea was something along the lines of experienced players being able to kind of mark themselves as teachers, and then new players could kind of sign up with them and sort of train or something, like I said, they weren't real specific about it.
Is there a verification process for that, or can you just sign up and
troll
so
there's
fuck out of people?
Oh, JP's like my new series.
So there's the commendation system that you might be familiar with, where you can commend people for different categories, like is it like a good leader, friendly, stuff like that. And I don't think that, you can see that on people's profiles, like, oh, I've been commended for being friendly 18 times or whatever. So that data I don't think has fed into anything concrete yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the ways that they vet the mentors.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
They're doing all the right things with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've stopped trying to predict what Valve's going to do or second guess their decisions. They consistently come up with some of the most creative ideas for stuff like this in the industry. So I'm just kind of happy to sit back and watch how it plays out.
If they get the tutorial system down and it's good, which I expect nothing less from Valve to be able to do something like that, like that game's going to be huge. I mean, it's already massive, but it's going to be huge on a fucking grand scale.
Do you guys think it has any potential to actually challenge League? I mean, the numbers are so skewed right now.
It depends. In China, I think if you look at the global audience, I think it definitely can, especially with China getting involved in that. But I don't know, man. League already has such a huge player base and such like it's ingrained in like. I don't think we're going to get League of Legends players coming over, is what I'm trying to say. I think they're going to stick to the game. The only way that they'll switch is if they want to learn a new game. Because I mean, it's a totally different game. It's incredibly harder as well. The positioning in that game is so much more important than it is in League of Legends, and the whole system of denying is like. You show that to a League player, and they're like, "I can hit my own creeps, and it's less XP."
Sort of in line with what JP is saying. Like this is one of my favorite gauges. So my wife has a League of Legends hoodie. She just loves it. It's super comfortable, says she. I've never actually tried it on myself, but and we're out and about, wherever. And I want to give a great example. So we're at my kid's his summer camp. They have this parents thing at the end, and all the parents come and they sing songs and do these terrible skits and stuff. and so as we're going up to the campground to sort of like wrap things up and get everything, his pack leader, who, I mean, I'm just looking at this guy and going like, doesn't look like a typical gamer. Looks like, guy who probably played on the high school football team, just out of high school type. And he's like, hey, League of Legends, I play that. And I'm like, I like that to me is that sort of he was brought in by friends or, through exposure, some other means. But I do feel like Dota 2 will always cater to those hardcore. And I can't see guys like that ever going up to my wife when she's wearing a Dota 2 hoodie and going, Dota 2, I play that. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely different.
I mean, that's arguably the brilliant thing that Riot did, right? Is bring the skill ceiling down just enough that, like, kind of people who don't want to put 100 hours into it, like it was 50, 75 games in Dota 2 before I really felt like I even had my footing, Like it takes so long to really get even proficient at just a basic level in that game. But so like if they made that kind of, I mean, that kind of game is a ton of fun. It's, nobody's going to argue that, but to make it in such a way that everybody can just kind of jump in, like the big selling point I would think Dota has is that everything is free. Everything you need to play the game, you just get when you jump in. Because like how many characters are free every week in League? It's not that many, right?
Like seven or eight, yeah.
Right. So I mean, it's probably one of the ways they're making so much money. But like if you were getting into that kind of game, I would probably push people toward Dota just because here is the full game. You're not going to have to spend a cent on this game to play everything if you want.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because like I don't think that Dota on a daily basis will ever beat what League is making like an income, because like you said, having those heroes behind a paywall is probably, I'm sure like each week there's a huge percentage. I would go as far to say like 60% of the people that will play a new hero that's in the free heroes that week, then when it's gone the next week, they'll probably end up buying it if they enjoyed it. That's how every single one of my friends is doing it, right?
Don't undersell though the value of customizable items.
That's true.
The heroes, the couriers within within Dota, and look at the success of hats and other items in Team Fortress 2. And like, to be honest, like eventually at 110 characters, League of Legends, they have to start. They've started to figure some ways out to sort of make that list not grow so fast. And Dota 2 is going to be able to maintain a slower release of characters, but still have probably an increase of sales and buying on these customizable items. So I mean, I don't know about League levels, but I wouldn't count it out for doing real well.
Sure, and the stuff they've done with integrating Steam Workshop into that game is just absolutely brilliant. I've got a little interview up with one of the kind of premier item makers for Dota 2 on our site, and he goes pretty in depth into like, you don't even need, if you're a modeler, if you have the art chops to pull this stuff off, you don't even need a relationship with Valve to get stuff on sale on the marketplace. It's literally just Like all their art guidelines are up there for free. It's just a bunch of PDFs you can download. You can get every model in the game for free. So if you have
cool.
if you got like 3D Studio and the know-how, you can just take all this source art and get to work. And then once your items are done, it's literally just go on a site and click an upload button and upload your items. And they have to be vetted by Valve, and Valve determines pricing and rarity and stuff like that. But it's not that difficult for anybody with the skill to start making stuff for this game. So that they've ensured a very steady stream of high quality content coming into this thing.
Does he get into the splits that he's given on payments or anything?
I didn't want to be all like, oh, how much money do you make? I mean, he said he's like a 24-year-old guy. He's in Sydney, Australia, but he said he's making, it's his day job. He's making a decent living at it.
People are, for sure. I could see that.
It's crazy
happening. But anyway, so no
stuff exists.
No official Dota 2 release. We're going to keep you guys peeled, but it came out and then was sort of retracted. And let's move on to our second bit now. So this is really the major news item of the week. Microsoft changing the DRM policies for Xbox One. And I forgot to prepare my hat, JP, but I've got my own theories about this. So Patrick of Giant Bomb broke this story on was Wednesday afternoon, right?
Yeah.
And then
I think so, yeah.
Then shortly thereafter, Microsoft then jumped on it. So, I mean, you were really close to that. Brad, you want to maybe talk a little bit about this, how it came to be, et cetera?
That was a wild day because Patrick came into the office about 10 o'clock that morning and had, he was looking at his phone as he was walking in and had a message or, got a tip and just said that out loud. He was like, holy shit, they're changing everything. And it was just like, I mean, it was everything else in the office shut down that day. And it was just like, we have to find out what's going on here. And then, so the news actually popped up on another site, whathifi.com, I think was the name of the site. We already had the tip, and he had been working on a story all morning. But that, once the news started getting out there, he was more confident to run with it. But, jeez, man, I don't even know where to start with that. It might be the craziest thing on a corporate level that I have ever seen in the game industry.
It was weird, dude.
It is.
It was so funny when it was announced. Everyone's like, this is a troll, right? Like they're not actually doing this. I don't
especially
because
they had doubled down on everything they were saying all through E3. There are YouTube clips of Major Nelson floating around out there going like, nothing Sony's doing is going to make us rethink anything. We're very confident in our vision.
Well, even Don was doing the same thing, and I think in his interview with Keeley, he was like, "It's not going to change.
That guy.
It's not going to change."
Additionally, I interviewed Aaron Greenberg, the chief of staff at Xbox, who was equally confident about their strategy and was like, we realize that this is the gamble we are taking, and we are okay because that's the gamble we're taking for this generation, which is interesting because now I'm like, well, what's the gamble now? So for those that don't know, obviously the online requirements, the check-ins, the sales, and the game discs, basically all that stuff has been turned around. So no more online requirement, no more checking in. Your used games are gonna go the same. It basically works. Everything works as it works now.
It's effectively another Xbox 360. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like everything that happened this past week is just like it didn't happen. Like
poof, it's all gone.
Like the whole Sony winning E3 conference wise is like it's almost nullified now because that end of the conference.
No, I think it actually it's sort of like Microsoft got killed by Sony, but then arose as a zombie and then got shot in the head to actually be like. I mean, it's so crazy to think. You say it nullifies their win, but I think it's even more. It's like it's even more like, well, shit. Then we really did everything right at this show.
Yeah,
Sony still has the price advantage. They've still got a much friendlier policy toward indie games. So there's still some selling points there. But I personally think Microsoft did such a better job with their online infrastructure last time that I'm not totally ready to trust what Sony's doing on that front yet. So I think it's still going to be kind of a wait and see how these two things play out.
So here's my big thought, right? First off, I was keeping up because. And we'll talk a little bit about it, sort of the pre-order situation, but it does sound like Xbox One pre-orders per the announcement have increased a little bit based on a few retailers' numbers.
Yeah.
My thought is that Microsoft was ready to go forward. They were confident at E3 about their decision to go this way. We are going a digital medium while our competitors are going with a physical medium. We're happy with this. You guys will realize that this is the way to go. So with all these things said, and then this retracted, as a consumer and as a gamer, I'm still not sure that I was given the most confidence that I won't buy a console, and a year later, these policies will not be put back onto me.
Or some sort of the policy, right?
Would that be corporate death at that point? Or, I mean, certainly they had to have some sort of understanding of how people were going to react. With the way that SimCity DRM kicked up all that dust and all the problems that we've had this year, they had to have known that there was going to be an outcry as a result of this. So reverting it, in my opinion, is a business decision. So the question is can they make this decision in the future to go, now we can flip the switch again?
I want to appeal to their better nature and think that they would never go that far, but like you said, they are both corporations that just want to make as much money as they can. I don't know. I mean, I almost wonder if a lot of these games are sort of inherently solving that problem on their own. You've got like Destiny and what was the other one I was thinking? Oh, Titanfall. Like, Titanfall coming out and saying like there basically is no single player campaign in this game. Like the campaign is the multiplayer. Destiny's is a multiplayer game inherently. A bunch of the stuff Ubisoft's doing,
like the crew, everything.
Watch Dogs, the crew, like all these games are sort of like meshing the single player and the multiplayer together. So like at a point, like it doesn't even make sense to get these games unless you're going to get them with whatever online pass is included or whatever. Get them new and be part of that infrastructure. So we'll see how that stuff plays out.
How about this? What if Microsoft then said, hey, we're going to give you opt-in policies, but because you're opting into sort of this method, we're going to then unlock XXXX features for you.
Like that sounds like a great consumer-friendly approach. Give people a choice. Like if you say, I'm a person who only buys games new, I don't want to go buy used discs at GameStop, I want to be part of your all-digital utopia, and then they say, okay, well now, great, you come over here with us, and we're going to start running these seasonal, like Steam-style sales or something like that for people who commit to buying things directly from us. Like that would be a great way to give people, the best of both worlds. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think eventually both organizations they're going to have to at least speak to it, because like that, it's just where we're going in this industry, is that something like this will eventually have to be set in stone. It'll have to be talked about. It'll have to be figured out. And I'm glad that Microsoft did what they did, because now I'm actually like interested in buying an Xbox One. So far as like I pre-ordered it on Amazon, but they won't actually charge you till it's shipped, so I can just cancel at any time. But eventually in our industry, like we'll see something like this have to happen. It's going to have to happen. Yeah, but
don't you think that it's good? I mean, it's already been going that way. Like I look at my lifestyle already, and I'm 50% there in terms of consuming digital content. I've gotten rid of cable. Netflix, Hulu, and other methods are how we consume our television. I read a lot of comic books now digitally. I downloaded Ni no Kuni because I was like, well, fuck, I don't want to run to the store. I just want to download this game and play it now. I feel like I'm already going that way. What Microsoft did, in my opinion, was say, we're going to force this on you instead of sort of ease you into it. And that was really, as a gamer consumer, my biggest problem with it. Like, I'm happy with the digital revolution. Like, I think about me versus some of my friends, and they're like, no, if I don't have a box, then fuck you. And I'm like, dude, I could care less about a box. I'm going to lose it anyway. Or in 20 years, I'm going to be like, why do I still have this fucking thing?
Yeah, it's just taking up a bunch of space in your house.
So this is the way we're going anyway, JP. It's a question of, do you want it forced on you, or is it just natural sort of technological evolution will eventually lead us there?
That was definitely the smart play that Sony made, like you said. Like they know that 3 to 5 years from now, that's going to be the bulk of their sales anyway, so why piss people off by railroading them into it? But that said, I think the onus is still on both of those hardware makers and the third-party publishers to find positive ways to encourage people to buy directly from them. Like defeat the used game problem by giving people a better alternative. You know, like the way Microsoft has curated retail games on the Games on Demand service on 360 has been horrible so far. Like there are 3 to 4 year old games on there that are still like $30-$40. Like I can get that from Amazon for 10
right
on a disc now. It's like you're not giving
like,
people.
They're all doing that. I wanted to play Chrono Cross recently, right? 2 days ago, I was like, God, I'm so bored. I wanted, like, in the mood for playing something Square because I was hyped for Final Fantasy, and it's like, let's go look at Chrono Cross and see how much it is on PS. $10 to buy Chrono Cross.
Right.
Do you think that's too much?
I think that's way too much.
Really?
Like, I bought Super Metroid for 30 cents the other day on the Wii U. Like,
wow.
I mean, like, granted, those are obviously 2 different games in terms of budget and whatnot, but like $5 is maybe a little bit. That's not like the same thing as $40 from Microsoft, but they're all a little bit too steep, I think, at this point in time, and hopefully that goes down because I still never played that game.
I guess you do make a point because, God, there's a ton of AAA titles I can buy as a PlayStation Plus user right now for like $20 or less. So I mean, I guess it makes sense. I would probably buy more PS1 shit if it was cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I think about how many fucking dumbass apps I've bought for this thing because it's like 99 cents. Shit, what's 99 cents? Like, that doesn't even exist. Like,
I had my
you can't get a pack of gum for 99 cents. You know?
I had my first kind of digital moment the other day, a realization. I was looking for games to play once again because I was bored. I was like, you know, let's play some more Monster Hunter Wii U. I was like, where's the disc? Like, is it in? I went and looked in my room. I like went and looked over my desk. I was like, well, fuck, I guess I lost that game. And I'm looking at my Wii U and it's like Monster Hunter tries like, oh, fuck, I bought this thing on the goddamn Wii U. I forgot that I bought it digitally. So
digital noob right there.
Yeah, that's my only flaw thus far with digital sales. So
the only other thing I wanted to discuss on this bit was then the follow up where we had a self-professed Xbox engineer take the paste bin and basically say some things regarding, you know, the way things I think were going to work and now that they've changed. But basically came out and said, hey, the family sharing, it wasn't exactly what it's cracked up to be. It's more like a demo for people, which is stuff we've seen on other platforms. But did you guys have any comments about this? I mean, that doesn't actually surprise me that much. I mean,
so it was funny. It was funny the day all the news dropped because, you know, there was such an uproarious response to these policies. Everybody well, not everybody, but, you know, most people hated it. But then when they said, all right, we're not going to do it, there was like a tiny backlash to the backlash where there were this small contingent of people going like, wait a minute, that stuff they were doing with the sharing and the all-digital library, that sounded cool. I wanted that.
Right.
So like the concern was like, well, I mean, some of those policies were pretty draconian, but maybe they were going to do some cool forward-thinking stuff with this. But then, like you said, when this news came out, it's like, the sharing wasn't exactly sharing. You know, like hearing stuff like that, it's like, all right, maybe it's not such a big deal that they're losing this stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And can't you just give them the disc now? Isn't that
now
like
you can't, right? So
I don't see why people are like. I was reading like NeoGAF and people were legitimately upset that they're not gonna be able to do it. I'm like, just fucking hand them the game. Like that's all you have to do. Why are there 20 pages on this topic? But I get it. Like you want to be able to send them to it. It's a cool thing, right? To be able to send something like that digitally and share games that way. But maybe that's a feature that they add on in the future.
Can I ask you guys though, like, so in your gaming habits, I mean, do you find yourself gaming with your close in real life friends, with people that you know on the computer through some method? Because like, I don't use my 360 or my PS3 to communicate with anyone. It's like I have like the 3 guys I play games with and I go and I play. Like, do you guys actually, would you have any need for features like that?
For like you mean the sharing and stuff?
Yeah. It's some of like the, you know.
I couldn't see myself personally using it, but then again, like I feel like we're always kind of an edge case in these situations because we work in the industry. You know, it's kind of like the 100 friends list limit on the Xbox. Like we complained about that for years, and then it became very apparent. Like we talked to Microsoft, and they were like, you know, like 90-something% of our users don't have a full friends list, and we were like, oh wait, maybe we're not the typical experience with this kind of thing. So yeah, like. You know, there are a lot of people out there who are really into games, but they, you know, maybe don't work with a lot of people who are also into games. So they do have to kind of go outside of their area to find that.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I do feel like it's a younger, right? Like if I was in high school or middle school with the 360, that would seem like the thing. Like, hey man, check this out. Now a lot of this stuff feels foreign to me. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I can't relate. The only games I play on a PS3 or 360 are like console only games that are, for the majority of the time, single player. If there's a multiplayer game, it's going to be like a Halo or something that's not on the PC. Otherwise, any multiplayer game, I'm going to play it on the PC regardless, because that's just, I'd rather use a mouse and keyboard and have a scalable system that with graphics, blah, 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 like all the reasons that you play a game on the PC. So I don't necessarily think I would ever trade something like on the actual consoles themselves, unless I could trade them in, get money for them without ever having to visit a GameStop and then buy something like that. That's the only thing I could see myself potentially doing.
All right, so we're almost at the top of the hour, so we may discuss this a little bit more if we get to some open phones. Let's try to get through our third bit, and then we'll take a break and come back and finish things off. Now, although Microsoft may have had a rocky week, PlayStation, off of their quote-unquote E3 victory, didn't have exactly the best week either. They have some ups and downs. So their ups, starting with that, they did announce that, hey, when you do download digital content, we're going to give you the option to either go right after the single-player experience or be able to play multiplayer. I could see in the grand scheme of things how that could be really cool. Again, not necessarily a feature that I feel like, my God, I'm going to jump on this immediately. Like, I can't wait. It could be a system seller. Don't think so, but it's kind of like if you're going to go digital media, if you're going to go a cloud route, I like this idea. What do you guys think about it before we talk about their downs?
I think that's probably most meaningful just to people who have kind of slower internet connections, or although PSN download speeds have been such a train wreck this generation.
They fucking suck.
That's why I didn't get Last of Us online.
Yeah, if they don't address that issue, it'll be a big deal for everybody. You know, and we'll see how big these games are. If we're talking 30, 40 gigs, I mean that remains to be seen. But if it's I could play single player 30 minutes from now as opposed to having to get the whole thing and wait 2 hours, like that could be kind of cool.
It's cool. My question is, what happens with these games that you were mentioning, Brad, that have kind of these single player / online single player things? Like, do you just download the single player all at once? Like, how do they split that up?
I have to imagine they're only going to be able to offer this on a case-by-case basis where it makes sense, because you're right. There are going to be some games where everything is so inextricably mashed up.
The only game I can think of is like Battlefield. And who wants to play the single player Battlefield? Like, people won't even download that.
Dude, there are 4 guys watching right now that are just getting all huffy and puffy like, JP, that's me, man.
Yeah, maybe if they were still offering like the same Call of Duty experiences from like Call of Duty 1, I guess Call of Duty 1 and 2, like those single player experiences would actually get downloaded. But I guess it's just for those people that are like, well, fuck the single player. Like, I just want to play the multiplayer. Let me download that first. So
yeah.
Well, the Respawn guys basically came out and said that was the thinking behind their decision, is that they had the data of like only X% of people are even touching this campaign, and it was such a small number relative to the amount of work they were putting into it. So.
And that's good. I'm glad that they're just like, we don't fucking screw the single player.
Yeah, that's a smart
decision.
decision.
100% on the multiplayer, because then it's only going to be better, right?
Yeah.
If they're really smart, and it seems like they are, they will make this content and craft this campaign in such a way that even if you play it alone, you're still going to have a good time with it. But they're leveraging all the effort they put into this content to kind of serve both audiences.
So that was a PlayStation win this week. Their down, of course, is that they released a system update that effectively was bricking systems. And I don't know that they ever actually found out what the cause was, because when it was originally reported, I was hearing stuff like anyone who's got a hard drive they've personally installed in there is probably going to have a brick. Anyone who's got a hard drive bigger than 500. Then there were guys that were like, hey, my original PlayStation bricked. Other guys were like, mine didn't. So I mean, did you guys hear any follow-up to actually what was the reason? I didn't either. So they fixed it, but man, I am so glad that I did not get bricked, because it's one of those download on the USB stick and plug it in some sort of safe mode. And I mean, talk about coming off of a massive high from E3 and then just like, there it is. The shit's falling and it's hitting us right in the face. Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
I really hope that they're wiping the slate clean with the next system, because they have had just one thing after another with this thing, between this and like PSN getting hacked and and just the systemic issues with like patches taking forever and a firmware update every other week and stuff like that. You know, like that's why, as amazing as a lot of the PS4 stuff sounds, like with this record from the last 6 years or so, I'm still a little skittish about some of this stuff.
They have done a good job of disguising some of that stuff, Brad. Like now that it will download everything at night, and I can turn my you know, and it's like, hey, I installed this shit that you would have had to wait fucking 90 minutes before you played Last of Us.
That's great. I really wish they had rolled that out for everybody and not locked it up behind PlayStation Plus. Although I think they've come out and said that's just going to be part of PS4 from the ground up without
right?
Yeah. Well, I think that every console going forward has to be. But anyway, JP, I cut you off. What were you going to say in regards?
I was just going to say on when that came out, I forgot when that was. That Wednesday? No, that was like Tuesday evening, I guess, when I downloaded that. And this was before any of the problems started arising. Like my PlayStation, I have PlayStation Plus, so it automatically downloaded and it started to install it when I booted up. And I was like messing around on PSN. I think this was the night where I was looking at Chrono Cross to buy, and I didn't end up buying it. I just shut the PC down, and then like the next day I start reading about this. I'm like, oh fuck! Like,
I'm so dead.
My PS3 is already updated. Like, what the fuck should I? I guess I mean because I have a Gen 1. I have like the old school PS3 where
the Foreman grill.
Yeah, the giant one, the backwards compatible one. And I was so worried because, like, no, I can't, please, like, let this fucking work. I don't want to do all this shit. And thankfully, it didn't fuck it up at all. It still works fine. So I got lucky with that one. So.
Sony, you're on watch, man. You're on watch. We're keeping our eye out for you. So
yeah, this is the moment where these two companies cannot have something like that happen, or any small fuck up is just gonna be so bad.
Like entire team got fired, I'm sure after that. Like
there's definitely some internal things that probably happened because of this, but who knows what it was.
Or they banished them for 30 days in PlayStation Home. Like, no interaction except the PlayStation Home.
Oh, fate worse than death.
30 days. Have fun. All right, guys, how about we take a quick break? When we come back, we'll continue with our 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th bits. This is the 3rd episode of 8 bits. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, more coming at you. Don't go away. We'll be right back.